Greetings, adventurers, and welcome back to the Den of the Drake. Other dragons hoard gold, while I hoard internet cringe. Dungeons & Dragons is all about relationships. No, I don't mean relationships like the one your mom ruined getting caught banging the UPS guy. I mean like the basic human connection that comes from being around people who get you. Because there's nothing that brings people together faster than being a goblin in front of a captive audience. However, what people don't normally know about D&D is that it has a way of burrowing into the deepest recesses of our psyche, grabbing hold, and then throwing all that shit on the floor for the world to see. What I'm trying to say is that D&D has a sneaky way of showing us who we really are. For example, I have discovered that I am an annoying prick, and there's no way anyone could have ever guessed that without the help of D&D. And if you say otherwise, I will find you and I'll... The story I have for you today stars a 12-year friendship that is put to the test when it has to survive a nerdy dice rolling game. See, our OP's friend has some underlying, well, let's call them issues because that's what they are, that boil to the surface in the most unexpected of ways, and may even lead to the slow and painful death of their hard-won friendship. Now, without any further delay, let's go ahead and dive right into the horrifying world of r/RPG-Horror-Stories. Enjoy. This week's story comes from Reddit user AXW3555 and is titled, Maybe Lost a 12-Year Friend Over D&D. Okay, I was going to promise that I'd try and keep this short, but realistically that won't happen, so TLDR at the end. So this revolves around my current Pathfinder group. I met them about 2 years ago when I asked my friend of 10 years, he's the focus of this particular nastiness, if his DM would be okay with me as a 6th player. DM was. I joined. It was good. A silly game where we were all evil and did random nonsense. A few months in, our DM got relocated by his job. As it was a physical game at a local store, that basically ended it. We didn't want to break up the group, and I was the only one with a decent level of RPG experience who was also willing to DM. The friend who this post is about was the other with experience, but flatly refused to try DMing, so I became DM. My friend has always been a bit of a contrarian, both in real life and with his characters. We all joined a devil cult. His character refused. We wanted to ride north. He wants to ride south to get revenge on some tiny village that we barely knew existed. And IRL, he would only use basic SMS. No social media or messenger apps. Won't use anything Apple because Apple bad. Meta bad. Only uses Android because he regards it as the lesser evil. But he also has 2 big character flaws. He won't communicate when something is wrong, and eventually that makes him angry and aggressive. It's not something that happens often, but when it does, it's memorable. A few months ago, he was like this. He started complaining that I was setting up too slow for the game. I had just finished work, hadn't eaten yet, and while his journey to the store for a game is a 5-minute walk, mine is a 35-minute drive. And for clarity, this is Europe, where 100 years isn't long, but a 20-mile drive at rush hour feels eternal. I joked that I'd be going slower to annoy him. That's a pretty standard kind of joke in our group, and I didn't actually slow down. Everyone else is laughing like normal, but he suddenly snaps. Well, that is what makes you a shitty DM. Of course, this was a record scratch WTF moment. I called him out on it. I told him that if he didn't rein that shit in, I'd be packing up and we would not be gaming that day. He didn't apologize, but he did go back to normal, so we moved on. We gamed for another 6 months. And we started another evil campaign. He decided to be the face because no one else had a charisma above 11. We were a few sessions in and it's all been fun. Then we got to last week. I get there and he's clearly in a mood. One of the others was asking him to help put the 2 tables for our game together. Standard tables, not heavy. He usually helps do it as those 2 are the first 2 there and it guarantees us our normal spot. This time he sits on the sofa, grumbling, and then snaps that he's tired of it being his responsibility all the time. I just helped put the tables together, which took a whole 2 seconds. He eventually wanders over and we get into the game, and he seems more normal. The players are doing some shopping. The rogue wants to get something enchanted and asks him as the face to help negotiate. He says, "You have given
given me no reason to help you.
He then starts criticizing the amount the merchant wants to charge for the enchanting. The book's standard value, by the way, because the merchant apparently won't make any money. This isn't the first time he's tried telling me that things I'm doing by the book as a DM are wrong. Usually I have to shut him down with a, "Look, I'm DMing, this is what it is." I've even challenged him to DM and do better. He always refuses. In the end, I cut him off and remind him that I'm the DM, so the price is what I say it is. And that even in an evil campaign, you still gotta make a character who's at least vaguely willing to work with the party. It was also wildly hypocritical, as in the last campaign, their roles were reversed, and he always was demanding negotiation for his stuff. I also know for a fact that if it had been either of the girls wanting the negotiation, he would have been right on it trying to figure out the best modifier he could. He goes quiet and starts to sulk. I'm helping another player pick an enchantment a bit later, and I'm struggling to think of one. I ask him and he just snaps,
"Just use your god powers and make it up,"
and then goes silent again. Maybe next time, instead of investing in pizza and beer for the party, you should get some Dino Nuggies and Pedialyte for this guy, because it's obvious to me that you're playing with a toddler. I will say though that Dino Nugs and Pedialyte slap after a night of drinking, so maybe that makes me a toddler too, but the point still stands. I absolutely detest these kinds of people, and I know I'm not the only one. The kind of guy who does nothing but whine and and complain about everything because they lack a personality beyond doing their best Eeyore impression. And even that sucks, because at least Eeyore was cute enough for people to want to buy a plushie of him. In contrast, there is nothing cute about rocking the boat in every single interaction you have, because that's how you get thrown off the boat and left to be eaten by sharks. I mean, come the f on, dude. If you're gonna be a wimp and refuse to admit that something is bothering you, you could at least commit to bottling it up where it slowly eats away at you over time like a real man. I would low-key prefer to just hang out with someone who just starts throwing shit when they're upset. Now, I know how easy it is to do the knee-jerk Reddit, "Oh my god, just get rid of the guy." But in this case, I find myself agreeing with Redditors, which is something I told Larry to shoot me for if he ever caught me doing. Look, it doesn't matter if your friendship is so good that you're kissing the homie goodnight every night. Dealing with this half-in, half-out hostility for more than a decade is gonna wear on anybody. You are a product of the company you keep, and if you want to be a miserable, cowardly leech of a human being, go ahead and keep playing D&D with this guy. It will definitely not be worth it. Side note, Apple is bad. I got one of those folding smartphones just to pop your sheltered little blue bubble world. Not my fault that Apple likes violating antitrust laws. Bite my ass. One of the players, who has been going through her own shit recently, asks if he's okay. He snaps at her.
"No, I'm being penalized for role-playing integrity."
Note, he had not in any way been penalized or forced to do anything. He wouldn't negotiate, so the rogue had to use his own charisma. Then he goes,
"This is pointless. You know what? This is pointless. Why am I still here?"
Then downs his drink and storms out. This left everyone pissed off and honestly hurt. He completely went silent on us for days. I even sent him a, "Are you actually okay?" because he is still my friend. He ignored me. Other friends reached out. It was just,
"Everything is fine."
I asked them to make sure that he was okay because he was ignoring us. Then he started messaging one of the players who had been in the toilet when it all went down, so she missed it. First it was,
"Are you okay?"
for some reason, and then,
"Why is our group chat gone dead?"
We stopped using it when this went down because we didn't want to pretend like everything was normal, so we were waiting if he'd say anything. So she told him that we were hurt and upset by what he did, and we were basically waiting for an apology. His response was to leave all the group chats that we were in together and cancel his tickets to all the things we had planned as a group. So then on Saturday, we all went around to his place as a bit of a 2-for-1 deal. If he wanted to talk, we'd listen. If not, he had about $1,000's worth of my board games stored. Big campaign types, and I wanted them back. then we'd go. Well, we got there, we could hear him in his kitchen, but he wouldn't answer the door until one of the girls messaged him and said it was her. He opens up, invites her in, but then he realized that it's not just her. He shifts on a dime back to sulking. He won't tell us anything, and apparently everything is fine, so I just start getting my stuff. While I'm at the car, he says to the girl he invited in,
You could have just reached out 10 days ago to see why I stormed out.
She replies that the DM, me, had on Monday. He just scoffs and goes,
Oh, I blocked him.
Thankfully, she is not the type to take hypocrisy blindly, so she goes,
Well, how could you complain that no one reached out when you blocked the person you knew would do it first?
He had no good answer. As we were leaving, one of the others, the youngest, nicest guy in the group, asks if he's really okay. He could start World War III. He's so nice, you'd still like him. So what does this jackass say?
Oi, oi, yeah, we're done here.
Before slamming the door in his face. So yeah, 12-year friendship, a third of my life, realistically my oldest friend who isn't a message on your birthday type, cut out half of his local friend circle over being told no in D&D. Or some other grander reason. We don't know because he won't tell us, so we can only go on what we do know. And now the rest of his friend circle is kinda on the defensive because his friend circle and mine are more or less the same. So they know what's been going on because they clocked that I was only coming to things when he wasn't and are now asking why. TLDR. Player and friend of 12 years storms out of the game because he was told no as he tries to backseat DM, and then cuts off most of his friends when they want an apology. End of story. I remember when girls would pull this, oh, I blocked them, but now I'm sad that they didn't reach out bullshit when I was a freshman in high school. And if you, as a grown-ass man, are mirroring the behavior of 14-year-old girls, then your life has gone off the rails and it's probably time for a hard reset. My honest advice here, OP, now is the perfect time to reflect. Do you really want to be friends with this guy? Take the time to weigh the good and the bad. Reddit is filled with people who think they're gigabrain detectives who have you and all the people in your life figured out because they read through a page-long text document on RPGHorrorstories. But these people completely ignore the fact that the sub is called RPGHorrorstories. And it's normally frowned upon to talk about the good times when you're lurking in a sub that demands only the bad. So yeah, take this time to really think if this is a relationship that you want to salvage, because if this guy's behavior in this story bleeds into the rest of your non-RPG interactions, then I'd say it's time to be grateful for the trash taking itself out. Don't get it twisted, OP, you did not lose your friend over D&D. Mr. Man-Baby decided to cut himself out of the friend circle because he's got the emotional maturity of a literal child. You did all that you could, and personally, I believe everything you did do was correct. But you can only work with what you're given, and in this case, it sounds like your friend was kind enough to give you a free escape. But you know what gift I value more than the easy way out? Fan art! That's right, let's take a look at this week's Gallery of the Drake. This week's fan art comes from viewer Animator Rex, who depicts an animated rendition of my performance as the man, the myth, the legend, Old Man Henderson. Don't dunk on me for being unintelligible, that's how the story is written, and voicing a drunk Scotsman for an hour-and-a-half long video is a drug of a completely different variety. Go watch it for yourself if you don't believe it. It's a wild ride, and it's one of my favorite videos I've ever made. If you don't know already, animations are by far my favorite kind of fan art, so getting my favorite kind of fan art of one of my favorite videos? Man, my ego is eating good today. I know that animation takes a ton of work, so trust me when I say how grateful I am. Thank you again, Animator Rex, for submitting your art. Be sure to check out their YouTube channel linked down below. If you'd like to see your fan art featured in Gallery of the Drake, be sure to send it to the email in my About section. Fan art is my favorite part of doing YouTube, and it means the world to me that I can inspire artists like you to create artwork like this. With the story over and artwork displayed, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and send in your fan art. that. And if you feel like supporting the channel further, my Patreon and merchandise links are in the description. I would like to thank you all for listening, and I hope to see you next time in the Den of the Drake.